the more fortify you have, the more skill or core skill damage you do. So there's that bleed in, plus bonus stacking. And then for the helm, we'll probably do max life plus hell. Poison creeper and wolves, no. This kind of is an interesting one to look at too, because technically, this helm is going to be actually, I think Shaco would be better here. So when you do get around to getting Shaco, that'd be also best in slot as well. But if you're not using this with a 15%, because 15% is good, but then you get Shaco with a +4 to skills on top of 5 extra damage reduction. It's just better. Plus max life, plus all stat to help you get to essentially different tiers of stuff in here. So like dex or intelligence, certain things that you wouldn't be able to reach without having that stat point, right? So there's another thing to look at as well. I mean, we still have points in here we have to allocate, which technically we could put these points right here. Get struck, you just fortify. So if you're getting hit, you're getting fucking bolstered anyways. Plus all of the pets and everything like that. So we also have that to look at as well. Let's see. So necklace plus this plus that plus this plus that is all good. So before, like, again, Shaco is going to be your best in slot. If you have enough characters / shards, you can make one. If you need to do runs, you just have to find those runs and everything. But max life plus probably willpower, and for all intents and purposes, let's just put a shadow resistance on it for boosting our resistances. But we are good on the armor cap, right? So we technically don't need this 1,000 armor. So we could focus on resistances. So let's put the fire in there plus the lightning just to balance it out, because why not? Again, we're not really focusing on putting anything poison damage reduction or poison fucking resistance on, because in the Paragon board, druids for whatever reason have a lot of poison resistance. I don't know why, but like if we go with heightened malice, just coming up here to get this node, you also have poison resistance there, and then you have more you have damage reduction from poison enemies, and then damage to poison enemies just in this tree alone. So you already have a 10, if not 20%, up to a 40% damage reduction or poison resistance, plus armor, plus max life, depending on how you want to go about survivability, right? I'm gonna Shaco for the best in slot over there. Yeah. He's like, I may or may not have a couple of them. And then just, I didn't say this earlier, but wariness for the damage reduction from elite, because all the rest of these kind of are trash. If druid had an ability that drained all of its spirit at once, this would be pretty GG's, but it doesn't. There's like, you're not doing thorns damage, 0.69, and you have an unstoppable to instantly get out of control of pairing effects. So realistically, like, it doesn't really matter all that much. So 15% raw damage from elites, BIS. So yeah, so I mean, we get the overpower damage just because of willpower. Now we can start kind of looking at vulnerable damage, and because we are building damage to close, we didn't even put fucking tempers on this, my bad. Damage to close plus resource cost reduction, just because that puts us at a 20% resource cost reduction, maybe even 30. Yeah, 30, because that's there. So we're at almost about as much resource cost reduction as you would get from Starless. You're just down the 40% damage. So realistically, when you're able to put that on, Starless is just going to blow this ring out of the water. Bless you, or whatever that was. And then tempers, we can put more life on. I feel like the life for tempering, it's good, but it's just, it feels low. Realistically, we actually could probably throw Let's put poison on there so that way our resistances are semi-balanced out. Lightning resistance though is pretty good, so aside from all reses that we're gonna get, we could probably put, actually, yeah, let's put shadow in there. So let's
boss.
oh god, 3 minutes to world boss. Are you guys there already?
We're there.
Sniff my finger, I'm coming. I'm just gonna stand here and get walloped by this. So now we're good on shadow. Everything else should round out by the time we get done with our skill tree. And this is not even like, if these were masterworks up to 12, your resistances would go up altogether, plus all that jazz. Or it looks like all the stats do, but the resistances aren't. So either way, oops, stop it. 0 plus 0. So then skill tree is done. Paragon points we can look at now. So we have our resistance here. We're focusing on poison damage or damage against poison targets, but also like crit vulnerable damage. So let's see. Poisoning effects have a chance to double their duration, increase poison damage. We don't need Bane. Bane's cool, but it does more poison damage. We're looking for more poison damage against, or damage against poison enemies. So tracker would be one that we would want. This first board's always good to put something that only requires, when this is unlocked, you're done. It's like extra, the bonus is 150% to rare or bonus or magic nodes, excuse me. So something like this would be what we would want to put. And actually, because we are doing damage reduction with a barrier and we're focusing this barrier build, see how all of these int stats are like all over the place? Well, we do need 25. It's kind of, I mean, well, actually we could do it like that. No. So probably look for something, especially one that hits like these. So if it's like a dex or a willpower one, probably be better to be here. So we're not shape shifting. Outmatch might be a good one to do, especially because of damage to elites and bosses and stuff like that. Or non-elites and bosses, excuse me. But having that extra crit strike chance, or crit, not even crit, just raw damage against them, because it is multiplicative, isn't bad. Plus it makes us kind of get this extra stuff right next to the resistance. So what we can do is we can grab these and go up, because then that means we get this part right. The world boss is fine. It'll die in 2 seconds anyways. But we don't need the extra armor because we're fine on our armor cap. We'll take all the life. Do this, do that, plus this. Helps us hit that. Plus we can come up here. 45% damage is a lot of damage. Plus the 23, or excuse me, 13.5 all res right out of the gate. Not bad. Dead. Look at that. I did all the work. I actually got hit and lived. That's funny right there. All right, so back to what we were doing. I would probably say that we'll move Heightened Malice as our second board because of how important it is. But this board is definitely going to be the board that branches in different directions. So we're going to come over this way. This is a willpower high dex board. So we could put a dex power here. We're not doing electrocute, dominate, does what it says. If we want to focus more, what's it called? More intelligence, or not intelligence, but more crit slash vulnerable. We want to focus on spirit and exploit. We're going to need werewolf for sure. And especially if you're just leveling this, you could put this one in sooner. So like werewolf here, but see how all of these are kind of all over the place away from like the main node. The way, yeah, it's weird. We're going to look at, what is it? Exploit. Got you, lurk, brother. Bunk baby. Thank you for the lurk, my friend. I hope you've been well. Been seeing you kick some ass on fucking, oh god, what is it? My brain knows it. The fucking WWE, laying the smackdown. I hope you've been having fun, my guy. and I touched my eyes. Now I can't see anything because they're blurry. All right, so let's see here. Do that. Hell yeah, son. About to lay the smack down. I'm glad to hear you've been having fun, man. Thank you for the alert. Do your thing, baby. So that's our damage to poison. And I mean, we're going up this way because it's damage to poison plus damage to elites. And this is where, depending on how we kind of go about this, we could either go up this way and get that, because this legendary node, super important, especially for damage, period. That's what you're doing. The next one that we're going to do, and this is why these boards I can feel could be interchangeable / we might take a different direction with this, is because this board is super fucking important just for critical strike damage, or not even critical strike damage, but just damage, period. So when you look at this board, this is usually the setup for this board. I've seen a couple of other setups for it, but mostly like the way that this board goes, you're always getting ancestral guidance, because 30% increased damage for using your core skill, you just get rewarded for spending spirit. Then we come up to a node with massive core damage, as well as snagging a couple of extra core damage nodes as well. So realistically, we walk away with 14, 21, 35% core damage, period. And then we run over here to this node, which is a good willpower node. So here is where we could put werewolf, especially since we're taking this and we can get some survivability out of it, right? But just in grabbing those two nodes plus taking the path over, we don't have to branch into all this other bullshit. And the resistances are almost perfect, and we're only 2 boards in, really. So, and I mean, some of these might even have like way excess res, like shadows pretty high over, almost enough for us to take that off. It'd be down by 10%, but we could put probably a diamond in, and be close to being maxed out. If this gets 5 more resistance or something like that, then we could probably get away with it. Which realistically, we could get a ring that rolled like, instead of fire res, we could do cold res or whatever, and then our resistances are perfect. It's just that both of those were double dipping on fire resistance for the innates on the rings themselves. So realistically, we don't have to touch another resistance node the entirety of going through this board, but of course we're going to get some resistances because we're going to put points into intelligence as we go through the boards and everything like that, right? But now this also opens us up for 2 different directions. We can go up for the cost of 5, or we can come down for a hefty cost, but we're going down and going this way, right? The only reason I say this is kind of weird is because of how this board is set up. Now, instead of sacrificing the points to go down this way, we can move this board up here, now that it's kind of going in this direction anyways. And we can connect to this. So now we have everything set up the way that we're going. We have our ancestral guidance node. GG's. And we technically are moving over to another board. We don't have to go this way, but it will allow us to hit more decks in order to make exploit work a little bit better. Kind of, we'll see though, right? So right now we have outmatch for increased damage against elites. We have werewolf for damage reduction plus just getting raw damage while being in werewolf form, which we always are. Exploit gives us the chance to immediately make something become vulnerable for a few seconds, so adding that extra damage on top of just blasting them. I was considering changing potentially, because we are always using a barrier. That's why we have conceded here, but if you don't want to use conceded, you can always try to fuck around with it and see how it goes. But instead of conceded, you could put what is it called? What is it? If I can remember it to save my life, accursed touch, which also, whenever you're using skills, you'll apply vampiric curse to mobs, which that vampiric curse then causes them to be vulnerable. So realistically, you get that guaranteed vulnerable on them if you want to do that. You could also put chance to cause vulnerable on certain stats or anything like that, but I feel like that's exploit. If you're not killing stuff in 3 seconds with the core skill, then it's either a boss, which you get an initial hit, which in that case, this would be better because the vampiric curse doesn't go away ever. And so you would have that permanent uptime on vulnerable against those long-term fights. So maybe having like switching this out in place of that for like what is it called, like the pit and other stuff would probably be a better bet, just because of long-term fights against bosses, because we all know that bosses tend to have a fuck ton of life when it comes to actually damaging them. But that is an option. So let's dive back in here. So we have this acquired. The easiest thing to do, right, would be to just bring this up this way, so that way it looks a little cleaner. But also going over here and grabbing this damaged to poisoned, and then coming up and just grabbing this node. So swinging over this way, probably grab the dex. But we want the extra life, so we can just grab this. Yeah, we get extra poison resistance, but the fact that we get 6% life just from that extra life never killed anybody. In fact, we're already at 25k. Not bad. Plus, this is an unmaster work. Some of these aren't fucking maxed out either. So realistically, kind of just doing it good, period. Plus, when you get Shaco, you're going to lose the resistances that you have there. That's another big thing, though. Let's look at that without that. So even when we lose our resistances, our shadow is really good. Our fire's fine, but our poison went down. So we might need to work with poison somewhere there. But everything else is like right at where it's at, or right at where it can be. So we've got the lightning res here that's keeping us in a good place. Again, unmaster worked with all of this other stuff. The stats are as low as they're going to be if they did come with a resistance on them. So like this may only be 60 resistance, but it'll go up even more, which will allow us to shuffle some things around if we need to. But poison resistance, again, that was one thing we expected. And if anything, we also do have more poison res and everything there. So we're at 60. It's not bad. But that is taking off the other unique, the other elite, and putting on our uber unique for the Harlequin crest. So it boils down to more survivability versus more damage plus survivability. So kind of is what it is at the point being. But let's keep fucking around with this. So if we want to, we can live with this and we can move on. What we can do is put 2 different boards here, especially because of the amount of pathways that we have. We can also leave those 8 points left because we don't get anything from the dex, but we do get something from the core. Also lets you change it up like this if you so chose to. More core damage. Plus, if you wanted to, you could put that point there and take those away. That's 2 extra points that you get, right? So you still retain that power. Plus, you walk away with another 14% core damage. So that is also there as well. That a friend asked me to round up his 37 sheep. I said 40 and walk up. Smartass. So let's look at this, because we also have Lust for Carnage we could do. Really, Lust for Carnage is the only one that we could benefit from legendary power node wise. So we can also look at this as well, because this also comes with werewolf damage, crit strike damage, attack speed, which we're pretty good on attack speed, right? Like, where's it at right now? We're at 27%. It could be higher given other stuff, but because we do have the 11% werewolf attack speed there, as well as having the capabilities to switch out. Like, do we need the crit strike chance for shred there, or do we need more, like, instead of 85% damage at close, do we go with more attack speed, more attacks per second versus needing the actual crit damage itself? It's a two-sided sword, right? It's double-edged blade, because on one side you have more crit damage per your hits, or more damage against mobs that are close to you, or you have more attacks per second. It just depends on breakpoints as well, because breakpoints are really fucking weird in this game. They're not like specified to a degree, so they're kind of rough to try and like mess around with. But we can kind of do something like this. I probably put the board like so. So when we do end up going for like through this, gonna go up and through the middle there. We're going for the power itself, so we can kind of work backwards a little bit just to see like What is this? A willpower. This is an int board, so we want an intelligence power in here if we can get away with it, which we'll look through all of them that have intelligence. So we have damage while healthy, wouldn't be bad. Keeper, we're doing fizz damage, so we're not worried about our minions or us doing less fizz damage. We could put protector in this board as well as undaunted. Really, we're not doing overpowered damage. We're not looking to do poison damage. It's just an accentuation to the build to allow us to do more damage to mobs affected by poison. And then we don't need wilds because again, we're not focusing on companions doing the brunt of our damage, or keeper. So really it boiled between guzzler, undaunted, and guzzler, protector, and undaunted. What I'm kind of thinking about doing is guzzler, because the 30% increased potion healing while using soul brand means that it is going to give you a bigger barrier, right? Because it's taking the amount of healing and making it 200% of that healing into barrier. So getting a raw 30% extra increased potion healing might actually give you a bigger barrier, right? So something to kind of think about. Plus, we do more damage while healthy. So if we always have a barrier active, or while our big barrier is active, then we also have that capability, right? The only thing that I kind of see this build being kind of fluctuated around is looking to get Earthen Bulwark on permanent cooldown, like our off cooldown period all the time. And that would involve Nature's Fury and a couple of other things, but that would also involve making Shred a lightning ability and then needing to put on Tempest Roar, and it's a bunch of bullshit we don't want to deal with right now, right? So let's go with Guzzler because of the implications. If anything, we can move this up here. Take that away. Well, actually take that. Increased healing received, and do that. Come down the line and do this. That also puts us at 44 intelligence, which we don't necessarily need all of that, so we can take away this extra point just chilling right there. But we do want the increased werewolf damage. So we're at 52% werewolf damage. That does not, it's damage with werewolf, not damage while werewolf. Somebody please make these stats make sense. What the fuck? So this is damage with werewolf, but like you also have to be damaged while shapeshifted into werewolf. So technically you get two different damage buckets there. It's fucking okay. Blizzard math. So let's grab the extra werewolf damage on our way over to this node. We're probably going to go Inner Beast because there's more shapeshifting stuff in here. But we don't give a damn about the power, right? The way that this is looking, though, kind of curious here. Because we're not going down, we're not going up. If we do this, we get a max life node there, which we could actually go for. Again, we don't need the attack speed, but this is attack speed and raw damage as well, right? So 10% damage isn't bad, but we also get 2.5% attack speed, which would put us almost, and in taking one of these, we can't get this unless we go straight through here without grabbing another 1.3 attack speed. So we actually do get enough attack speed to break 30% without all of our other bonuses. So maybe we keep it this way. If we do go out, so what I'm going to try and do is this. We're going to go up this way and across. So if I do this, then we're pretty much right here, and we can grab that and that, which is just another 8% life. Plus, if we want to grab the rest of the nodes, they're close enough for us to, we could actually do that and this and wrap down this way. So that gives us a little bit extra. You can excrete all three states of matter, solid, liquid, gas from your my eyes. Aries. Fucking weirdo. You're not wrong, but I wish you were. All right, so we don't need the armor node here. It's really nice hearing your voice while I'm running pits. He says I have a nice voice. So let's see, this is another int one, so we could potentially do another damage reduction, but we're running out of points, right? So we do need to kind of decide how we want to go about this. Probably survival instincts. And this will be the last one we go for in the sense of just getting the node. So let's see what it looks like as we push up to it. Soothing from the fucking mentalness of Nightmare T99 pit runs. Soothing contrast. And understandable. Okay, so there's 2 more glyphs that we need to put in here. One of them I would suggest be Fang and Claw. The other one needs to be Spirit. Now this does kind of put us in a weird place because we should have we have 10% DR here. We have 20% DR from close there, 20% DR from close there. Shakeon is another raw 20% DR period. So realistically, I think we have enough damage reduction to where we don't need Undaunted, we don't need Territorial, which Territorial would be nice, but we're looking to kind of spread our damage out, right? So we could do another raw 12% multiplicative damage. Plus, I mean, we don't really need the bonus damage from the magic, but that just means once we get 40 willpower, we're done. Or we do Spirit, which is Dex. It just kind of depends on how we do this here because we also have to get the other node, right? So we're fine on Dex there. We got enough running in that we got all the Dex that we need there. So let's see. This is going to be willpower, so let's go down the other side. So what else do we have here? We've got Keeper. We don't need Protector. Damage reduction while having an active barrier. Chance to cause the skills to crit. Almost feel like Territorial would just be nice, but I feel like we're at such a oh shit. Damage to poison targets. We need Tracker in here. What the hell am I talking about? Okay, so because we just did that, well, we're gonna do for 14 plus we do that, and that's our 25. So there we go, and that leaves us with 4 points, so we can fill in a tree somewhere. So where's our exploit at? Right here. Probably do Hmm. 39 there. Plus we could do, if we're trying to really stack more damage, because again, we also have some options to put this in. We can either do more werewolf damage, more attack speed, more max life. Realistically, I'm looking at the max life, so let's do that. So at the end of it all, because of the extra attack speed, Tracker is active, plus Spirit is active. We didn't really care about Inner Beast nor about Survival Instincts because we're not playing Werebear. We got our Lust for Carnage, where our crit strikes with werewolf skills restore 2 Spirit, plus Heightened Malice gives us more poison damage, or more damage while mobs around us are poisoned. So you jump into a group of mobs, critically strike with 1 shred, all of them are poisoned. Or jump in with Shred, you don't crit strike, you pop Poison Creeper. Well, guess what? You just got, because of our skill tree, you got another at least 15% critical strike chance. So critical strike chance is technically 15 plus our 56, which is 71%, on top of shredding, which is another 6, so 77%. So you're at an 83% chance to crit strike after you use 1 singular ability from your summons. So if you don't crit on the first shred, well, guess what? You jump into the group, you poison Creeper, and then hit it again. That is almost a guaranteed crit. So let's see here. We've got almost 800% critical strike damage with almost 100 vulnerable plus more raw damage with vulnerable, or all damage period. So that's not bad. And this is without any of the gear being upgraded, right? So this is all just the raw stats, and we're at 30,000 life period. This is just with greater, I should preface that this is with greater affix stats, but your resistances are all squared away. Now again, when we put on Harlequins, we're at 7% percent down on poison, which does suck. If we needed to, we could change the digitigrade gate from here to a poison resistance, but realistically, if you were really trying to, I would probably change the barrier. No, you can't put resistance there, so never mind. Let's see here. So we have 3%, 13, 18, and 13. Nah. So all of those would have to be good where they're at. You could, oh wait, no, that's exactly what we could do. Instead of the cold resistance on this, you just put that to a poison resistance. Or again, this is also the really tough part, right? Trying to find a ring that accentuates what resistance you have lower. So because we switched that from cold, our cold resistance is only at 3%, but we already have a gem in for cold, so we're fine. But now that this is innately a 10% poison resistance, it makes it so that way we have all of our resistances perfect. And then, I mean, we can go through here and masterwork perfectly to 12. We can also find the stats that we want to boost up more, because at a certain point, putting too many masterworks into like attack speed or something is just going to be something that kind of defeats the purpose, right? So